Hello and welcome. It is I, naturalist Brett Sieber of the Three Rivers Park District, located at the Lowry Nature Center, working today again with our friends at Tierney to bring you a lesson that absolutely here in the state that I live, a state filled with so many different places for animals to live, from border to border, to the evergreen forest of the Northeast, all the way down to the prairies of the Southwest, and everything in between. Minnesota has so many different habitats, which allows us to have a variety of animals that call our great state home. Today, we're going to learn about the basic needs of an animal and how a habitat provides for them. We're going to do a little animal guessing game and talking about some of the different places that animals live in Minnesota. And of course, we're going to head outside in search of some of the habitats where you live. I think we should get started. All right, so as a living creature, there are absolutely certain things you have to have in order to survive. And this is all the same across the board for all living creatures. Now, of course, what we're eating and where we're living may look different, but the bottom line is we all need the same thing, starting with air. When you take a big, deep breath in, your body is using the oxygen that's in the air, and we have to have that. Now, a lot of animals use lungs that are right here in your chest to breathe. However, if you're an animal that lives underwater, maybe you use gills to breathe. Can you think of an animal that does that? That's right, a fish. Now, but you have to have air. Secondly, shelter. You have to have some place to keep you safe. Now, that could be something that you just hide underneath like a fallen down log. It could be something that you make where the animal digs out a hole in the side of a hill, or the beavers that build lodges out in the ponds in the wetland. Or maybe, again, back to the trees, these big holes. Maybe it's one a woodpecker made, maybe it's just an old hole in a tree, but it's all of these can be places that protect animals. Shelter. Also, you need water. You have to have it. Cannot live without it. Now, you could be getting your water from a puddle, you could be getting your water from a river, you could be getting your water from a lake. It doesn't matter. Gotta have water. And lastly, food. Now, that could be meat, that could be plants, that could be a little bit of both, but you have to have that in order to survive. And then on top of all of this, you need space. Now, the amount of space that an animal needs, an ant needs far less space than, let's say, a deer. A deer covers far more ground and has a far larger habitat than an ant does. However, ant, deer, they all need air, shelter, water, and food. All right, so what's going to happen next is we are going to visit 3 different habitats, and each one I'm going to give you some clues about an animal that lives in that habitat, and your job is to see if you can guess what animal I'm talking about. Step number 1 on our tour through the habitats is, as you can see behind me, a wetland. A little bit of land, a little bit of water, an amazingly perfect place for a habitat. Remember, as a habitat for an animal, you need to have food, water, shelter, air. All of those things in abundance here. Great places to hide, of course, lots of water. Now, the animal that I want to see if you can guess that calls this habitat home, first and foremost, I will show you its skull. Here we are. Look at that big, sharp, orange teeth that are great at chewing up trees. You can see its eyes way up on top of its head up here. All right, that's clue number 1. Clue number 2, here's its foot. Take a look at that foot. The webbing between the toes helps it swim. If you're going to spend time in or around the water, think of animals that you know live in and around or near water. Animals like ducks, animals like geese, animals like frogs. All of them have webbed feet, and so does this animal. Any guesses yet? Anything? Maybe, maybe not. I do have one last clue. Here is a pelt from this animal, very shimmery, shiny, brown pelt. When the Europeans first came across on the boats over to North America, they were in search of this animal because its fur was waterproof, and they wanted to make hats out of it. How amazing if you're an animal swimming around in the water, yet you never get wet. Who could this be? They build dams, they build lodges, they chew down trees. That's right, my friends, this is the beaver right here. You can see where it's been chewing on a branch. The largest rodent we actually have living here in Minnesota does spend a lot of time swimming around in the ponds and the wetlands that we have here. I think we should head to our next habitat. All right, we are at stop number 2 on the habitat exploration. And again, we are going to try to guess another animal that used to, and still in some places does call this habitat home. I am in the grasslands or the prairies. Later on this summer, grasses taller than I am when I'm standing up. So many different colors throughout the summer as the flowers are blooming. Our state of Minnesota used to be 1/3 of it was covered by these tall grass prairies. When the Europeans first showed up, they had never seen anything like it. Everything they had seen had been trees where they came from. When they hit the East Coast, they got out and there were more trees. And when they got to right about here in Minnesota, they're like, whoa, where did all the trees go? Now, with grasses, sure, not the trees for the animals to be hiding, but plenty of places to be hiding, plenty of food to, and of course, as a habitat, you have to have that. Water was a little tougher to come by in the prairie, but there were those places too. Now, the animal I want you to guess is the animal that used to dominate the grasslands, happens to be the largest land mammal in all of the United States and North America. I have a horn here that came from one of these animals. Now, it wouldn't just be one like a unicorn. There were 2 of them, one on each side. Big, large, up to 2,000 pounds, giant brown animal. I have a skull from this animal here, and you can see, I can hide all behind it. It is ginormous, huge. My eyes almost as big as my fist. You can see both of these horns here. At one point, there were more than 35 million of this animal covering the prairies. Now, it's down to just a couple 100,000. Any guesses, any thoughts? We are talking about none other than the bison. Now, I have a picture here that is courtesy of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. These are massive, massive animals. If you go just west of here to South Dakota, they do have a park where there are several bison. It is an amazing sight to behold if you've never seen one for yourself. All right, we're going to leave the grasslands and head on to our 3rd and final stop, the forest. All right, so here we are in our 3rd and final stop on our habitat exploration walk. I am no longer at the wetland, that is clear. I don't see any water. I'm also not really out in the grasses. I'm surrounded by trees, which means only one thing. I could be where? Where am I? That's right, I am in the forest. Now, lots of animals call the forest home. Animals like deer and squirrels and rabbits and fox. However, the animal I have that I want you to guess is one that is nocturnal, comes out at night. Nocturnal animal. It also, let's be honest, does show up in people's neighborhoods at night, digging through your garbage. Here's a skull of this animal right here. You can see size-wise about the size of my hand, way smaller than that bison skull. In its mouth, some very similar teeth used, some big teeth used for eating plants, some other sharper teeth used for eating meat. All right, I have a pelt here, its fur, and if you look, wait, those dark mask right across its eyes. Who could that be? And if I look down at the bottom, wait a minute, there is that striped tail that so many people recognize. Do you know who it is yet? Have you figured it out? I am talking about the raccoon. Now, the raccoon lives in the forest. However, it will go down to the water to find food. It is an omnivore, like you and I. It eats plants, it eats animals, and it is not a picky eater. Now, I encourage you to get out into your neighborhood, wherever you may be, and explore the different habitats that are around. Some of them are going to be big, like the forest. Some of them might just be a puddle. Some of them might be just underneath the rock, and the animals that live there that can find everything they need, the water, the food, the shelter, all of that. But get outside and go explore. Well, thanks for joining me today. I hope you had fun while we went out learning all about habitats. I hope you're planning on heading out into your neighborhood to explore the habitats that are waiting for you there. If you are looking for more information on the Three Rivers Park District, you can visit our website. If you want more content to go with today's lesson, today's video, you can visit Tierney's website. My name is Brett Seaburn. Until we see each other again, get outside.